And welcome back to our 33 hours. That's right, 33-hour fasting check-in, where discipline meets design and where we don't just do hard things, we learn how to hold steady while doing them. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. I'm here because I want to help you to have the success in your health, just like you're having in the other areas of your life. You don't need superhuman strength. You need a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the commitment, determination, and the support to keep going and to keep showing up every time. Hey, welcome, whatever platform you're joining us from, whatever city, state, town, village, and even whatever country you're joining us from right now. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. And a special shout out to our accelerator members who are out there. So glad that you're here hanging out with us as we move through this week. We are in an amazing week because we're in our fasting process again. As you know, once a week we fast and we are resetting our body. We are helping our body to get ready to heal, because if we give the body space, the body will do what it needs to do. So we are giving it the space to do that. So once again, welcome wherever you are. And I am now 33 hours into this week's fast. Congratulations to all of you who ended your fast today at 24 hours when we did our pop-up. If you didn't see that, go back and watch that. So ended your fast today at 24 hours. And then for those of you who are who started the fast even before us, because there are some folks in some other countries and other parts of our country who started the fast prior to the time that we did. And so I want to give you your props and your shout outs as well. Here you go. Right, so let you know that we are excited that you are doing and you have made choices for your health. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments, because I also want to welcome you to our community with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I am excited that you are here. And then if you have questions, make sure you just drop those in the comments, because I want to make sure that we get to those as we move through the rest of our show. And we are, if you've not already done so, you want to make sure that you jump in and get involved in all the things that are happening on the channel and happening in the space. Remember, all of it is designed so that you can plug in. When you show up, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Lots of different things that we've got going on as we are implementing the health action plan. Now, that is the functional health arm of our platform, and we want to make sure that you are getting involved in that. And a little later, we're going to play our promo. I'm trying to think of that word. We're going to play the promo for our Move campaign as we transition through the show tonight. But what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at a few things. And let's see. We're going to take a look at a few things. You'll get to see what my numbers are. And for those of you who've been kind of following along with us, recently I had my blood work done. And so we'll be able to see what those numbers are and compare them to what we've been getting here in the space as we've been watching these. So right now I've got let's go ahead and let's do a quick check-in. And whenever I do a check-in, we're always talking about how we are feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. If we're going to use fasting as a tool, we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be healthy and to be safe. And we want to make sure that we have a way of monitoring what's happening inside of ourselves. One of the pillars of our conversation, the pillars of us being healthy, is to be mindful and to be attentive to what's happening in our body. And so this is the perfect opportunity to do that. You'll recognize that when we talk about physical, mental, and emotional, those are actually three of the domains of health. Three of our domains of health that we talked about in the past. And these are the places where people tend to have their most challenges. So let's go ahead and let's hop in and let's have a conversation about that. So how am I feeling physically? Physically, people tend to talk about their energy level. You know, as I'm going through the fast, or as I am eating differently even, or as I'm exercising, I may feel a little different. And so right now I am feeling energetic. I'm not having any difficulty with energy. I don't feel like I'm hitting a wall or as though I'm walking through mud or quicksand, some of the phrases that people will use when we talk about that. And then mentally, as you know, how you feel physically can translate into the mental aspect of your health. And so if you're not well rested, if you are feeling sluggish, then that will show up in our thought process. And right now I'm feeling pretty clear. And then that translates into emotions, because all of it works together. That's the beauty of when we're talking about health and metabolism, that all of these domains touch each other. We sometimes think of them as though they are isolated pieces, but they are all in a spoke, if you will. They're spokes in the wheel, and when you affect one, you can affect everything else. So when we talk about being healthy, we're not just talking about how you're eating and how you're moving and so forth. There's so many different aspects of it, and we want to make sure that we are paying attention to that. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and let's hop over and we're going to take a look at my monitors. And first, let's go ahead and we're going to take a look. This is my Freestyle Libre. And right now you see my Freestyle Libre says that I am 88. That's what my blood sugar is. And down below this graph, let's grab my phone here and we'll take a look at this. And let's take a look at the app. And you see what my blood sugars have been kind of running over the course of the last 12 hours in the 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s. And so we're now 33 hours into this week's fast. 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s. And there we dip down into the 70s, right, which I loved, and then pop back up a little bit into the 80s. Okay, so we've been kind of straddling 70s, 80s, and 90s for most of the last 12 hours. I love this because I can also look at different reports. And one of the reports I like to look at is this one. I'm looking at these big numbers right here. 95% in target with 5% being low numbers. And that typically happens when I'm fasting. So this is the last 5 days. If I look at the 90 days, I'm in target 87% of the time and 13% lows. Very low, which is that 0% you see, would be below 54. So right now I am between in range or low numbers. That's my 100%. And the reason I'm looking at the 90 day right there is because the 90 day is a representation of our A1C. That's where we get our A1C is. It's an average over the last 90 days. So getting out of that report and going to our average glucose, we're looking at this number right here. And so my average over the last 7 days was 97. And then if I go over to 90 days, my average is a 91. Down below, it breaks it out into the different times of the day. And so I can actually make decisions about what I'm doing, what I'm eating based on time of day and based on what my blood sugars are doing at that time. Okay. All right. So let's get out of that one. And we're going to go over here. And this is my Dexcom G7. And you'll see there that my blood sugar is 102. You see my Dexcom is going to expire here soon. And then down below, just like we did before, I can put my finger and just trace over the course of the last 12 hours what my blood sugars have been. And in fact, why don't I do this? I'm going to go to the 24-hour period. This one allows me to do that. The other app does not allow me to do that. And you see we've kind of been in the low 100s for most of the last 24 hours, and then dipped down into the 90s, went back up, 90s, 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 and then for most of the rest of the time, basically stayed in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and then just a little while ago popped up back up into the 100s. Okay, so that is that's what's going on with those blood sugars. Now let's go over and let's look at what my numbers are as as these guys are saying. This is my Keto Mojo, and this is my contour. So let me grab my container. Grab my container there. Let's get this one off the screen a little bit. All right, there we are. And I need a brown for my glucose for the Keto Mojo. I need a blue for the Keto Mojo. I need a strip for the contour. And I need a lancet. And I usually get 2 of these just in case I have to do another finger prick. All right, let's go ahead and take this out. So this is these are the strips for the contour. And as you heard me say before, I use the contour because that's what we use at the office. So it didn't make sense to get a different meter. All right, so get that one open. And here's my Keto Mojo. This is the strip for glucose. Get that into the monitor. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the ketone one as well so I can just have it off to the side because it makes it simpler. There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to put that off here to the side. And then here are my lancets. So I'm just going to grab one. And as you know, I don't use a lancing device. So grab that open, and we've been picking on this finger, so let's go ahead and do that. I used to do this one, but I kind of gave that one a break. Let's see. Okay, so that was a pretty brisk drop that we got there. Get that started. Get that started, and I'm going to put this back up so we can see, we can compare. So 93 is what the Keto Mojo says. 96 is what the contour says. You'll see there that the Dexcom says 102, and then 86 is what the Libre is saying. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna have to get another drop, and we're gonna move on to our ketones. So what do you think my ketones are? Go ahead and drop that in the comments if you have a guess. All right, and let's get that one started. And I like doing that because I don't want to have to stick my finger again. All right, let's get that off the screen. And so there we are. So 4, 3, 2, 1. And ketones are 0.3. And so ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis. And then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now I'm in the normal range for ketones, okay? All right, so now let me get over here. I want to go ahead and say hello to some of our community members, and I see some of you out there, so let's do this. All right, and I see Gian out there. Gian says, hi, Doctor and LLG. What is going on? She said, I like your hat and your scarf. Thank you. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Gian says she is 48 hours into this week's fast, and this is her 16th week, y'all. Come on. Let's give some music for that one. This is her 16th week of fasting with us. Jennifer, what's up, Jennifer? Jennifer says, howdy. Congratulations to Gian. And Gian says, hi, Jennifer. And then Gian was guessing 0.4 for my ketones, and they actually turned out to be, was it 0.3? Yeah, 0.3. So close. Gian has actually been doing a good job of guessing at that. And so wherever you are, if you are fasting with us, I want you to go ahead and put where you are. Actually, let me do this because you guys didn't see all of those, did you? Let's go back here. Let's start back over. So Gian says, hi, Doctor, LLG. And she says, I'm 48 hours into this week's fast, my 16th fast. Jennifer saying, howdy. Hi, Jennifer from Gian. And then Gian guessing 0.4. Awesome. So wherever you are joining us from, I want you to drop that in the comments and then put how many hours you fasted this week or you are planning to fast. So you may have done your 24, you may have done 16, but you're over the fast, or you are now in the fast, or you are planning to start fasting with us tomorrow as we get into the final stretches of this fast, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well, so that we can give you a quick shout out. So we're going to get into our discussion for this evening. And we're going to go ahead and take a listen to our MOVE campaign. As you know, not only are we using fasting as one of our tools, but we also have a campaign for movement. Okay, so there are several components to our health plan, and we want to make sure that you are a part of that and that you understand that when you show up, you can just come on in, and you can just plug in. We don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. So come on, hang out with us. So let's go ahead and let's listen to that MOVE campaign, and then we'll move into our discussion for this evening. Well, not quite yet. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to get into our discussion. Let's do that. Let's do that right now. We'll come back to the MOVE campaign here in a little while. All right, so fasting 33 hours, and we are in what we term the transition zone. And the transition zone is this space that we find ourselves where our motivation is kind of waning, right? So we got excited when we started the fast. We were pumped up because there were whatever the reason. Right? It's part of our routine, it's what we've done now, and we understand what's going on, or someone invited you to come fast with them, but you're pumped up. And the motivation begins to wane, and the motivation actually is handing over to your metabolism, handing the wheels over to metabolism, right? So motivation hands the wheels over to stability, because that's what's going on around this time. Whether it's 24 hours, 33 hours, or a little beyond, something important is just happening. So it's not dramatic, it's not loud, it is responsibility shifting. So the mind has done its job, and our motivation has done its job, right? And in the early fasts, motivation carries you. The decision carries you. You hey, I'm going to do this. Commitment carries you. But at some point, effort stops being the main deliverer. And this is where many people get confused, because they think if it feels different, something must be wrong. If I don't feel as pumped, if I don't feel as motivated, if I don't feel as, right, then something's wrong. And it's not that anything's wrong. It feels different because you're transitioning. You're not broken. Nothing is wrong. Is that you're transitioning from what got you started, and you're transitioning into another aspect, another phase of the fasting. And so what we want to do is we want to spend some time talking about what this actually means. So what is this phase, right? So what is it and what is it not? So transition is not trouble. So let me name something clearly. So the transition zone is not a failure. It's not weakness. It's not loss of willpower. It's not a sign that you should quit. Just because you don't feel as pumped, if you don't feel as energetic, if you don't feel like, oh man, I really am hitting this hard, it's simply the point where your body and your mind are negotiating the rules. You're no longer proving you can fast. We're 24, 33 hours in now. You are learning how to remain stable while you're fasting, because you've already proven that. Even if you have tried fasting in the past and you notice that, hey, I've been trying to fast and I've not been able to make it, you're trying to do 24 hours and you've only made it 16 hours. You made it 18 hours. You made it 20 hours. You're trying to do a 48 and you only made it 36. Guess what? Where you are, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a little while, where you are is further along than where you were. You're learning how to maintain stability while you're fasting. You're not proving you can fast. We know you can. It is, how do we maintain this process? And that's a very different skill from, I got to learn how to fast. So this is not punishment. It's not that you're broken. So why does this phase feel different mentally? So you're no longer chasing, you're actually adjusting. This is the moment when people say things like, I don't feel hungry, but I feel excited. I feel okay, but I just feel a little off. I could stop, but I don't feel like I need to. That's not danger. Those are the conversations that come up because you're becoming more aware of yourself. You're becoming more aware of how you feel. You're becoming more present. And a big part of fasting is understanding the body and understanding how the body moves, how the body works, so that as you're feeling the changes and the improvements in your body, you now understand what's going on. That's not danger. That's natural. And it makes some people nervous because it doesn't give emotional feedback. Right? So it's a physiologic thing that's happening, but they don't have the emotional component. It's almost neutral. And neutrality is actually a sign of stability emerging, that you're not having those fluctuations in blood sugars. Things are not flowing it's not as volatile as it was before. It's stable. Yeah? Okay. And so when we talk about fasting, right, we want to talk about orientation, not intensity. This is not, hey, I've got to push through, I've got to muscle through, I've got to, right? The questions in this space, they change. Early in the fast, the question is, can I do this? Am I going to be able to fast? And as a matter of fact, a lot of people, when they approach fasting, and even some people who have been in the periphery of our platform, they're asking those questions. Can I fast? Am I going to be able to get through? Am I going to be able to survive it? But here, the question doesn't stay there. The question becomes, how do I stay oriented? Not can I do it? I already know I can. But how do I stay oriented? How do I stay the course? Not how do I push harder? How do I make this impressive? How do I extend it? But how do I stay grounded? How do I support what's already happening? How do I avoid overreading and overreacting to the things that are going on in my body? This is where your thought processes and your self-coaching, right, that inner coach, it matters more than information. And there are a couple of things that people do that can cause problems. So we're talking about some of the common mistakes. So most people don't quit, they overcorrect. Yeah, they overcorrect. So here are three things that people do in the transition and in this space. Number one is they interpret quiet as danger. And this is the idea I was talking about just a little while ago, where because they're not feeling those changes or the fluctuations in emotions, they think something wrong. They don't feel like, they don't feel the intensity of when they got started. And so maybe something is wrong. Maybe, right? So they begin to become paranoid about what's going on. And this actually is a good space to be in. So number one, they interpret the quietness that comes as something that is dangerous. Number two, they add intensity instead of support. Meaning that they're, whenever things are going on, they're like, okay, I need to I'm going to do it. I'm just going to muscle through it. I'm going to white knuckle it. I'm going to, right? And they go through all these things that is pushing them to become more cortisol driven, if you will, rather than, hey, I need to get some support. And the support comes in lots of different places, right? So, for instance, here in our group, in our community, there's support. You may have to start a support group where you are. Find some like-minded people who are interested in getting healthy. Form a group. Say, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to get together. Whatever you guys are going to do, whether it's a walking, it's a eating, whether it's fasting, whatever you're going to do, hey, let's do this together. So find support. And then number three, they abandon structure because it feels easier. Now, this is an interesting one, right? So the structure is actually creating a space where things are becoming stable. And because of the lack of intensity that we feel, we're like, okay, this isn't working. And so we abandon the structure. But it was actually the structure that caused us to be in the space where we felt better. And none of those mistakes are required. All of these are things that we begin to create. We begin to, and one of the things that you may hear me say is that we overthink, we overprocess, we almost telescope challenges into our fasting, and so it shows up as these conversations that we have in our mind. So those are some of the mistakes that people will make. But what does support look like right now? So small stabilizers beat big moves. Small stabilizers beat big moves. So support right now looks boring. I'm going to be honest to you. And that's good. It looks like making sure that you're hydrated. It looks like making sure you're getting some gentle movement. It looks like making sure that you are doing predictable routines. It looks like making sure that you are doing your mantras and you're doing your exercises and making sure you're doing your devotion and your journaling and all those things that we're doing, mental reassurance. This is not to prove your toughness. This is not to prove my toughness, period. And so often those things that we're doing, they look very bland, very boring. And because of that, we misinterpret that as though, okay, something must be wrong. Because things have actually gotten better. This is a phase where we're demonstrating the wisdom that we've learned. We're not proving anything. We already know we can fast. We're not proving how tough we are. But we're demonstrating what's going on in our body, right? So that's what support looks like. So here's a message for everybody who's fasting, for every group that's out there. Wherever you are, you're not behind. Ooh, I love this one. I love this one. So we did a series called Play Your Own Game with the idea that we are all heading to better health. That's a goal. Whether you are losing weight, improving your blood sugar, you are trying to reverse your prediabetes, you're trying to improve your diabetes itself, you are improving blood pressures and cholesterol, whatever it is, wherever you're heading, we're heading in those same directions. We're heading to the same places, but how we get there can be different. And so often we compare ourselves to each other, but you're not behind. If you finish a 24-hour fast, you didn't quit. You completed a cycle. If you've done a 16-hour fast, it may not be a 24, but you've completed a cycle. You completed the cycle. Your work now is integration, not extension. It's not oh man, I wish I could do a 72 hour. Well, maybe you will do a 72 hour one day. But right now we are where we are. And so we're working, how do I solidify this? So if you're right here around 33 hours, your job is stability, not speed. So it's not, okay, I fasted once for 33 hours. Now, next week I'm going to do 48. And then next week I'm going to do 72. Let's stabilize this. Let's figure out how to keep this going so that we are successful. Remember, the idea is we want to do this over the long haul, not just today or tomorrow. If you're going longer, your responsibility increases not to push, but to listen and adjust. Right? So not to say that you can't go longer, but it is not a race. The same principles occur. The same principles we have, different expression. So your 16-hour fast is different from my 48-hour fast. We're heading in the same direction, but we're doing different things different ways. And we're using the same tool. Okay? So we want to make sure that we understand that we're heading in the same direction, but we can get there and we can do different things. So let's talk a little bit about the inner design loop. The inner design loop helps us to build predictability, and predictability builds metabolic peace. It is the calm that comes that helps us to be successful. So the inner design loop, if you recall, we have 4 phases or three phases to it, the inner design loop. We anchor, we align, and we adapt. We anchor, we align, and we adapt. So anchoring. So what is actually happening right now? What is my body actually doing? Not where am I afraid it's going or afraid it's doing, but what is it actually doing? And part of that has to do with understanding what's going on in the body at different phases. That's why understanding the transition zone, and then when we get to the adaptation zone, and when we understand the motivation that starts the whole process, understanding what's actually happening in the body is very, very important. We will do our review as we talk about how to prepare for the fast, get through the fast, and how to break the fast. The reason that's important is because there are changes that are going to happen. You're going to feel different things. And if you don't understand what's happening, then that can push you in a direction you don't want to go, to end the fast prematurely. So one of the anchors is what's happening in my body, understanding what's actually going on, what my body's actually doing. And not to telescope what I think it's doing. Okay? So name it in reality. No assumptions. My body is doing this right now because I understand how it works. So we anchor. Number 2, we align. And the question is, do my actions match my goal? Do my actions match my goal? Am I making the choices that support where I say I'm going? Are my choices supporting calm stability, or are they creating friction? That's a big one. And we can spend, I don't know, a long time talking about this right here. Right. Are the choices I'm making right now on a day-to-day basis, are they taking me in the direction where I say I want to go? This is where many people accidentally sabotage progress. So they've not kind of looked at the things that they do, looked at the choices, and so they're going based on just routine. And whether that's something in our environment that we have not changed, that not adjusted, or we put ourselves in a situation where that can help to derail us, or we create a fasting schedule that's not in real life, right? We prepared the fasting schedule for the panacea, for when things go perfectly, and we're gonna white knuckle it through. And that doesn't help. So my behavior, are the choices I'm making, are they consistent with where I say I want to go? And then we adapt. So small adjustments restore balance. And adaptation requires understanding. It requires emotional intelligence. It requires that we understand what's going on in our body. It requires that we be mindful. That's why several of the tools, I say all of the tools, several of the tools that we talk about have to do with us understanding what our triggers are. And when we see something that is going off course, then it is our responsibility to make small adjustments. We're not waiting until we have big issues before we do that. It's just small micro adjustments on a daily basis will help us to maintain the fast and maintain success. And so the question here is, what's the smallest adjustment that I can make that keeps me steady? Not big, grandiose, super exciting balloons and streamers and rocket type of adjustments, just small micro adjustments. 5 minutes earlier to bed. One more glass of water. Making sure that my tennis shoes are at the door. Actually putting my stuff in the car and not planning to come home to get them to go back to the gym. Or coming home and right when I park the car, just going for a walk. Small micro adjustments that may not seem like they're a lot. Not heroic, not dramatic, just wise choices. So we're adapting. So we anchor, we align, and we adapt. And if we do that iteratively, that's the idea behind the inner design loop, that it is designed on a daily basis to chart the process that we can go through that will help us to be successful, because we're always evaluating my anchor. What are my anchors? What's working? What's working? What is my body doing right now? Do I understand what my why is? Are my actions aligned with where I go, where I say I want to go? And if there are things that I need to do, have I put in place a process so I can evaluate how I'm feeling, what successes I'm getting, and then make those micro adjustments? And if you do that, yeah. Okay. And so let's go ahead. I want to give you a reflection prompt. And so here's the question. Where did stability show up today? You're going through your fasting. You may have ended the fast. You may be preparing for the fast. Where were you stable? Where did stability show up? Where did I feel most steady? Not where I felt the strongest, not where I felt the proudest, but where did I feel steady? And that's where your design is working. That place right there. And what we want to do is we want to figure out, how do I take that and transpose it, transfer it, bring it over to other parts of my fasting process? And that's where design works. Because design is a way, what we're doing is we're designing a process that is repeatable. That's why the fasting, that's why the health action plan, that's why they're successful, because we're not just winging it. We are putting things in place so that we are on a consistent basis able to do it, so that I don't rely on me waking up one morning and feeling like whatever it is, because the structure is already there. I tell people that one of the reasons I love fasting, and I fast the same time every week, unless we're doing some traveling, and we've adjusted that before. The process happens, and I know when I'm starting. I know how long I'm going. I know when I'm ending. And a lot of things that I do are built around that process. I've created that structure. And when we have the structure, we get the stability. Stability is success. Stability is success in this phase. The transition zone is not a test of endurance. It is a test of orientation. It's a test of understanding. If you can stay steady here, you don't have to fight later. Right? Because we're moving. It is a movement from motivation. We're transitioning. The metabolism is taking over. And then we get to hand that off to the next phase. And if we do it well, if we do it right, then it all comes together and it provides us the benefit. It provides us a consistent, intentional process that we can use over and over and over again. Most people don't have challenges because they don't have a desire, because they don't have knowledge, because they don't have energy. We have challenges because we have not put a structure in place. We've not designed a structure. And that's the key to all that we do. The key is to design that structure. And when you do that, you don't have to rely on waking up and feeling like it, because it's already there. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of this. Right? So we will continue doing our fasting as we move through the space. If you are going to be successful, structure. If you're going to be successful, you need to understand fasting. And understanding this transition zone is a great place to be, because it allows you to interpret the things that are going on in your body. And if you can do that and interpret it correctly, then you don't overreact. And when you don't overreact, then things are calm and you get through this better. Okay? So we'll be back. Make sure you continue to join us as we move through this fasting space. Okay? We'll be back. All right, so we are continuing to fast, right? This is the thing. This is the tool that we're using. One of the points that I do want to make is, and you heard me mention there about understanding what's going on in your body, and understanding what's happening in your body and in your system. Understanding who you are has to do with understanding at different phases your body may respond a little differently than mine. Some people say, well, as I get into the fast, the first 12 hours I may get a headache, or I may feel like a little lightheaded. So understanding what that means for you is important. Or understanding what your triggers are is important. Because if you understand them, if you can make changes, those micro adjustments we were just talking about, if you can do that, then you are well on your way to doing what you need to do to make a stable, successful plan. So why does this work? Because it's physiology. Why does it work? It works because our body is already geared to this. Why does it work? It works because our body is waiting for space. And so what we're doing is we're basically protecting the system. We're protecting the body and giving it space to do what it needs to do so that we can be successful. And that's what all of this is about. It is being in the space where you are doing all the things you need to do to be successful in your health. And if you can do that, y'all, man, I get excited. Right? I get excited about it. And so this week, We continue our fasting. We'll be back as we move into the rest of the week. Of course, tomorrow we'll have our pop-up for our 48 hours. Then we'll have our show, 56-hour check-in. On Friday, we'll do our complete review of fasting, how to prepare for the fast, how to get through the fast, and then, of course, how to break the fast. And then we continue, y'all. So we are continuing our space. We're continuing our Blueprint series. Our final episode for this season is going to be on next Monday, Dwain Woode MD Live, as we round out the series and as we round out this season. And then we'll be back on the 5th of January. That may change, so keep an eye out for that. Right now, it's scheduled for the 5th, but we have a couple of things that may happen, may push it back 1 week. But for right now, we're on the 5th of January as we start our new season. Come on back. I'm excited about the new season, right? Excited about it because it is an amazing process to transition from where we are, continue down the journey. I shouldn't say transition, continuing the journey along the path of being healthy. And as you are learning, as you are growing, this is the next process, right? How do we take this stuff that we've done and how do we infuse it? How do we implement it in a way that is consistent and in a way that keeps us going over the long haul? Okay? All right. So everything that we do, y'all, everything that we do here is built on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. It is designed to help us to look at ourselves and look at our body in a different way. In the office, even today, I was talking to several patients, new patients that were coming through, and we were talking about the fact that our understanding of how the body works is different than we have, than actually it is. Let me say it that way, right? So we've had this idea for such a long time, and we go on those assumptions. But there are some simple thought processes that if we correct, we actually can have an amazing time in being healthy. But right now, it feels often like we're fighting our body. We're fighting food. We're fighting, right? It's not a fight. There is a war going on for our health, but it does not have to be as arduous as we think. And part of that is understanding. So we educate, right? So give you a different perspective, give you a different idea, help you to look at things in a different way. That's the show. That's where we are. We empower with the tools. And you heard me mentioning a few, not by name, but understanding what your triggers are. That's the HEAT model. Understanding how to deal with emotions, our COPE model. All of those are tools, and the tools allow us to put into practice the things that we're learning. And notice I keep saying the health action plan. The health action plan, the word action is in there for a reason, because all of the things that we do become infused with power. They reach their ultimate, they reach their pinnacle when you infuse it with your ability, with your power. If you think back to our last season, we said, the new you, limitless living, powered by the new you. Because it is your behavior, it is your action that does the work. Because it's great for you to come and watch, and I love the fact that people are there watching. I love that you're doing the replay. I love the fact that you're commenting. But I love even more that you are moving, that you are walking, that you are doing the balanced bites, that you are getting rest and restoration, that you are doing strength training. So we educate, we empower, and then we encourage. Now, the encouragement, I get excited with the encouragement because the encouragement comes from the community that you are part of, that you're helping to build. There are over 1 billion, with a B, people on the planet right now. Over 1 billion people on the planet right now who have diabetes and prediabetes. We're not even including in that people who have heart attacks, people who've had strokes, people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, they're obese, people who are struggling with metabolic syndrome, people who have fatty liver. All of those are spectrum. Those are diseases along the spectrum. And you can be a voice that says, hey, we can do something different. We don't have to keep going like this. In your community, at your home, in your family, at your doctor's office, your church, your neighbor, wherever you are, you can be a voice that says, hey, we can do something different. And so we educate, we empower, and we encourage. And when we do that, when we can process that, when we can walk through that, then it becomes an amazing way for us to not only be healthy ourselves, but also for us to help our community to be healthy as well. And that's the beauty of what we do. That's the beauty of all the things that's happening here, because it allows us to walk through that process and allows us to think and be aware and to set the things up properly so that, once again, there's that idea of structure properly so that we can be successful. Right? So that's why I love the Triple E formula for success. And that's where we pause. That's where we not pause for stopping, but pause to say, okay, let me take a look at this and let me make sure that I'm doing all that I need to do. I continue to be excited because I get to hang out with you. I get to see the benefits that you're getting. People who are saying to me they're off medication, their weight is improving, they have had... they go to the doctor's office and the doctor says, hey, what are you doing? Right? They say, what are you doing? And we love that. We will have our community meetup this week. We normally do that on the fourth Thursday of the month. But tomorrow or next week is going to be a holiday week, and so we will have our community meetup on this Thursday, so tomorrow at 7 p.m. So make sure you come out and you join us for that. It's going to be a great time as we come together and support each other in our fasting and in our health journey. If you've not seen yet, if you've not been to the channel and seen what's happening this week, if you've not walked through the Start Here videos, if you have not done the videos for this week, and you're pointing people to the channel, make sure you let them know that that's where they want to be. If they are interested in how do we move through this process, what is the journey that we're on, everything is set right there so they can come and they can become a part of what we do. We'll be back tomorrow with our pop-up, as I said. We'll have our check-in tomorrow at 56 hours, and then we'll be back here over the weekend. We've got video from the vault at 9 p.m. Central on Saturday. And this week in review will be 6 a.m. right here on the channel Central as we walk through that. And then, of course, back here on Monday as we round out the Blueprint series. Once again, as I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here, we educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. I'm here because I want you to have success in your health the same way that you're having success in other areas of your life. So you can show up fully for the people who matter, for the moments that matter, and the dreams that you have been pouring into. You don't need superhuman strength. You need a strategy you can trust. You need understanding. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the consistency to keep showing up. That's what limitless living is really about. Showing up with your best self, your best health, and your best plans consistently, not occasionally. And as we move through the rest of the week, we'll continue building that foundation together. Join us as we do our fasting check-in, and we'll be back right here on Monday. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here. Actually, let me do this. Let me hop back over and let me say hi. I do see, before I finish that, my community, I want to make sure that I say hi to you guys who are still there. And so let's see, Jennifer. Jennifer says, "Good night, all. Having a great evening and day." Oh, yep. So Jennifer, and then Gian. Ooh, let me go back here because you guys aren't seeing that. Just a sec. There we are. So Jennifer says that we're having a great night. So good night, all. Having a great evening, great day. And then Gian said, "Thank you, doctor." And good night, everybody. Yeah. So always excited when you guys come along and hang out with us. So as I was saying, right, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. We educate, we empower, we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life you've always wanted. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. You know, we have this conversation here, and the pause, as I talked about before, the pause and the ability to let me get this off here. The ability to think and walk and to stay consistent is something that you need to get into the habit of doing. I love that you come to the show. I love that you're here. I love that you're watching. The design of what we do happens in the quiet. Doesn't happen in public. It happens in the quiet at your place, in your mind, in your heart, at your house. And we show up here with our best self, our best health, and our best plans. That's the idea. But now we take this and we go back and we say, okay, how do we do that? And that conversation continues on our website, Dwain Woode MD, DwainWoodeMD.com. So that is a walkthrough process, something that's foundational. This is all great. I love the fact that you're here, but we want you to make changes on the inside. Because if we make those changes, then this process becomes much simpler for us to do, and we have a much happier and much healthier time. All right. Well, thank you for coming through. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you over the course of the rest of our week. Good night, everybody.